Hello, my name is Allison Carmen, and welcome to my podcast, 10 Minutes to Less Suffering. Today I want to talk to you about the place that we choose to view our lives. It's really hard to look at this issue sometimes with our busy schedules, because sometimes we wake up in the morning and the minute we wake up, we're dealing with problems. We're dealing with problems at work, problems at home, in our relationship, conflicts. There's so much going on in our lives all the time that we're usually in either worry mode or problem solving mode. And it's all about how we are relating to the outside world. And it makes us tense and it makes us stressed. And we end up looking at life from the outside in. And why this is difficult is because the outside world then determines how we feel every day. If things are not going our way, if we lose a client, if we're disappointed, then that's how we define our life. And we don't have the ability to take a bigger view of life, or more importantly, we don't have the ability to view our lives from the inside out. And what I mean by this is when we view our lives from the inside out, before we react to a situation, before we try to solve a problem, before we try to approach something, we look at how we are relating to ourselves. Are we centered? Are we grounded? Are we in truth? Are we being kind to ourselves? Are we being loving to ourselves? Are we in fear? And as we kind of bring our energy in and we feel ourselves and we feel what really resides within, we have a better chance of viewing the world more objectively and more detached in a way. Not detached from a sense of you're not going to care about things, you're not going to feel things deeply, but the detachment to know that you are separate from your problems, that you're separate from the experiences that you're having during the day. We exist without our problems. We exist with our problems. And when we live like this, we have less stress, we have less worry, but we also have more of a sense of who we are. Life is calmer, it's more enjoyable, and we don't feel like every day is this rocky roller coaster, because we see the nature of life. We see things come and go. We see we can exist no matter how this problem resolves often. We relate to everything differently because the most important relationship is the one we have with ourselves. So after you go within and you say, how am I relating to me? Then within that wholeness, you can go out and say, how will I relate to the problem in front of me? And often another reason why we have trouble living from the inside out is because we're looking for the world to give us something to make ourselves feel better. And that could be really tough because we start to believe sometimes that if we get that job, then we'll be worthy. If we have that relationship, then we'll be valuable. If we have this amount of money, then we'll get respect. And that's, again, a hard way to live, because then we're letting the outer world determine how we feel about ourselves. And on a good day, we're going to feel great. And on a bad day or a disappointing day, we're going to feel awful. And as those difficult days add up, it's kind of hard sometimes to find the resilience and the strength within to carry on and make the best decisions. And that's when you could flip it around, and when you live from the inside out, you could want the job, you could want the relationship, you could want the money, but a want is different than a need. And the things you want in life don't define you. You're already defined from within. You know your value, you know your worth, you are solid. And then you go out into the world to achieve things, to have experiences, to be on your path. But your authenticity, your truth, your courage, your value does not waver when the outside world doesn't look the way we want it to. And most of us have such a deep desire to live like this. And the reason I believe it's hard to hold is because we're afraid we're not okay. It all goes back to our relationship with uncertainty, with our inability to feel safe. Because if we don't feel safe on the inside, of course we're going to grasp for things on the outside. And it makes sense. We have children. We want to know they're okay. We want to be able to stay in our homes. We want to be able to know we're going to be able to do the things we want to do in our life. So it makes us want to grab onto the outside world and live that outer life to feel safe on the inside. But those of us who have lived long enough, we know that it's really hard to let just the outside world dictate our life experience. We know there's no certainty. We know there's no safety in the outside world. But what we forget is that when we go within, we can create one certainty in our lives. The certainty of our value, our ability to love, our ability to give, and what we want to take out into the world at any given time. That's the solidness of life. And with that certainty, we go out into the world with such courage and such openness and such creativity that we're able to take the disappointments, we're able to take getting knocked down because we get right back up. And with a clear mind, we make the best decisions possible for our lives. Believe me, I have spent many times in my life just managing the outside world. Believing if I could just get things right, believing if I could just settle this case, believing if I could just fix this relationship, then I'll feel safe, then I'll feel okay. And it doesn't always leave us in the best mindset. And what it really does, it just takes us off our path, because sometimes we're not even looking to live our best lives. We're just looking for certainty. So we compromise in everything we do. Every risk is too big. Every new business seems too overwhelming. Every relationship we want seems beyond our grasp because of the courage that it takes to live with such uncertainty. But at least if we have the certainty within and we view life from the inside out, we know who we are, we know what we want, and we know we're valuable no matter what. And that's the only place to take a risk from. That's the only solid ground we will ever have. So how do we do this? How do we live from the inside out? For me, I actually quiet myself down and I take a couple of deep breaths and I actually envision a little heart within my heart, and I feel it pumping and I feel the energy right there, and I feel what it feels like to reside within me. And from that place, I view the experience in front of me. And from that place, I ask myself, am I centered right now? Am I grounded right now? Do I feel me? Am I being kind to me? Am I in fear? What can I give myself in this moment to make myself feel okay? And sometimes it's just acknowledging me. Sometimes it's being understanding. And sometimes it's remembering that I am not the outside world. I am not the experiences that I have outside of me. The me doesn't change no matter how my day goes. And I try to muster as much self-love as I can in that moment. And I try to view my life from that place all day long. And like I said, it creates a detachment. You know you're not your problem. You know you're not your money. You know you're not your relationship. It creates a greater sense of courage and resilience, because you feel a type of certainty within you that you could never get from the outside world. And you stay connected to your desires, your path, your wants. And it's just a better way to live. The reason why we get so scared is because we believe that one thing needs to happen in our lives to be okay. But that's not true. There are many ways to be okay in this lifetime. Yes, things might be disappointing, and it might not work out the way you want it to. But it doesn't mean that you're still not okay, and it doesn't mean that things can't change, and it doesn't mean that you won't find success tomorrow or the day after that. But if you let everything that's ever happened in your life in the outside world define who you are, you might never feel safe, and you might live with a lot of disappointment. Your life will feel like a roller coaster, good days, bad days, ups and downs, and you might lack the consistency to create the life that you truly desire. Now, the way I described is not the only way to center yourself, to calm yourself, to feel yourself. You can meditate, you could do yoga, you could run, you could jog, you could just be aware of it. It's about cultivating the safety within. And always remember, uncertainty is your best friend, because if you want your life to change, it has to happen in the unknown. You don't need to know the future. You just need to know you have what it takes to achieve your goals. And you have what it takes to love yourself and be loved. And you have what it takes to live the life that you deserve. Thank you for listening to this podcast today. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you could email me at allison@allisoncarmen.com. If you'd like to buy my book, The Gift of Maybe, it's available at all major bookstores and online retailers. And if you like this podcast, you could subscribe and leave a comment.